Welcome, Dolphins fans, haters, and everyone in between to your favorite show discussing the greatest franchise in sports, the Miami Dolphins. This is the PhinsPod. My name is Moose, your host, and there's some general team news to cover here today. Nothing major, but the Dolphins do continue to add pieces on the edges and overall exterior of their roster. We're going to talk about that, as well as touch on a recent podcast appearance from our good friend Ryan Fitzpatrick while on with Ross Tucker. Fitzmagic restated some things that some of y'all clearly need to hear again, and something that one Mr. Colin Cowherd, as you're going to hear in a moment, also really needs to grasp. Strap in, boys and girls, and let's dive in.
He has Jacksonville taking Trevor Lawrence and the Jets taking Zach Wilson from BYU. Then he has Justin Fields going to Carolina, who moves up and gets Miami's pick, and then Atlanta takes Trey Lance. If I'm Miami, I'm not sure I'm giving up that pick, and I'm not so sure I'm not drafting Justin Fields because I don't want to get trapped. Miami could first just take a mulligan on this and do what Arizona did. Say, just listen, we drafted a pocket guy. You could do that with Justin Fields. Justin Fields is bigger than Tua, stronger than Tua, faster than Tua, a bigger high-end arm than Tua. He's a better athlete than Tua. A play has to be designed for Tua and the play to work. It's very Derek Carr. It's very Kirk Cousins. It's not that way for Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes or Russell Wilson or Kyler Murray or a lot of times Aaron Rodgers. They can go off script. Tua is more Kirk Cousins. It's more Derek Carr or Andy Dalton. Pressure equals trouble. Ad-libbing gets trouble. I mean, when Ryan Fitzpatrick replaced Tua last year at 38, he looked significantly more athletic than Tua. You could draft Justin Fields if you're Miami. And if he doesn't look good in camp, you're not trapped. You could move Tua. You could move Justin Fields. But it's a bad quarterback college draft next year. And Miami's well run enough and talented enough with Tua, they're not going to have a top 7-8 pick next year. This is the year. And there's a stat I just can't get out of. If you look at Tua under pressure, and I know he's a rookie, and I know he's a kid. I get that. Tua under pressure is bad. 45 passer rating, 43% completion percentage. He is a player that you have to have a play designed for.
Okay. So Colin Cowherd made a lot of noise in that piece that we just had to suffer through. His overall point, the Dolphins are not going to be at the top of the draft again. You know, this is 2021. This is our only time at number 3 overall that we're going to see the Dolphins in the top 10 because they have a great defense. They're well coached and they're just they're well run. So they're going to win games. And this is going to keep them out of the top 10 in the draft for the foreseeable future. So why don't they hedge their bets? Don't go all in on, this window that they're creating. No. Hedge yourself, protect yourself, and expend this valuable asset, number 3 overall, on a player who you can't even confirm is going to be better than the guy that you have right now. And that's the flaw. If Trevor Lawrence, or Zach Wilson even, was looking at you in the face, if we had the number 1 or maybe even number 2 overall pick, I could consider a move. I get it. That talent is striking. As much as I love Tua, which I think is clear from the name of this show. But listen, if Tua develops and shows out in his sophomore year, but you drafted a guy like Trevor Lawrence or Zach Wilson, but Tua also takes that next step, then he's your guy. And Wilson, because realistically we weren't going to get the number 1 pick, but Wilson can be a valuable backup or eventual asset to trade going forward. It's not really been done before. We saw Josh Rosen get flipped for a second. So if you have a guy who maybe doesn't touch the field and still has some of that shine, maybe you get a first from a team that really liked him this year, but you got your hands on him. So I get that mindset. I disagree, and we're going to get to why, but I understand that approach. But this talk that we just heard for Justin Fields, listen, I'm sorry, but Fields has shown, some flashes in college, some potential, athletic brilliance. He's got the prototypical size. He's athletic and shifty in the open field for a quarterback. But as a pure passer, if we're talking as a pocket quarterback in the modern NFL, he is not the most consistent or most accurate quarterback. And that's something that, needs to be adjusted at the next level. You're going to need to hope that he develops that. So Tua has a year on him in the league, following a better collegiate career too. So you think taking a guy like Fields based on what? The league's different? What do you mean the league's different? As far as I'm concerned, the league still relies on accurate quarterbacks who can make plays, and Tua did that at a much higher clip in college. And like I said, he has a year on him on Fields in the league. I don't mean to slight on Fields. Like, I don't want to diss him. I think he can be a good quarterback. But I just think the logic here that Cowherd's going with is flawed. He has this obsession with size, and I think you see that through a lot of his, negative talk about Tua. A lot of the stats that he talks about too, based around pressure, are misleading. Compared to other quarterbacks who have established safety valve receivers, maybe an established slot guy, good running backs in the backfield, established vets, and they feel that pressure in the form of blitzes. Well, Tua's pressure is not really in the form of blitzes that often because they don't need to blitz him. They can get pressure organically. His pressure is a lot more hindering compared to some of those quarterbacks that Colin Cowherd's trying to compare him to with those stats. He's forced to eat a lot of sacks, and we saw that. If you watched all the games, he shouldn't have eaten nearly as many as he did, but he's going to learn. He's going to learn when to get rid of the ball, where his hot read is, but a lot of times he really just didn't have a chance. The line would have a miscommunication. There'd be some fuck up. It would just lead to him going down immediately. The second he gets the ball, before he's even able to settle in his drop, there's someone in his face, disrupting the play and pretty much killing any chance of a positive gain. But regardless, Tua does need better O-line play, and his numbers against the blitz, if you actually look at those stats, not just with pressure, because again, that's misleading. What is pressure? There's different types of pressure. To me, I want my quarterback to be able to take a blitz and respond well. I want my offensive line and my running back to protect him. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I'm asking for here. Think of the situation that a Mike linebacker, he just blitzes up the B gap untouched, and he gets a free shot at Tua. That's a blitz. And the right tackle, loses the battle on the edge quickly, and then Tua's hit right behind, right immediately before he even gets to step up and react. And Tua may feel immediate pressure and make a guy miss and throw a dart to try to keep that play alive, which is then inevitably dropped by some scrub running a 3-yard crossing route. You have to give him weapons. You have to give him an offensive line. When you're talking about the pressure that he felt, when he doesn't have a safety valve to throw that to, when he doesn't have the offensive line to actually give him that protection on a consistent game in and game out basis, then of course he's going to struggle. And a lot of people will say, hey, well, Fitzpatrick, why was he able to play differently? Well, because frankly, the play calls were different. Fitz knew where to go with the ball so that when the pocket began to collapse, he knew where to dump it off. Tua did not have that mental capacity yet because he was only 9 games, 6 games, 5 games into his career. He couldn't process the information at that speed. And if you expected him to, then I don't know what world you live in. Because Fitzpatrick, again, 6th year with Chan Gailey and his 16th year in the NFL. So listen, you got to give Tua weapons, get him a line, and then let's see what's up. Then Colin Cowherd next year, if this is the case, and the Dolphins have an opportunity, say Miami moves back, right? From 3 to 8, they trade with Carolina and acquire more first-round picks. And say Carolina struggles, say they take Fields, and then he struggles, and then we end up with one of their high picks, and Tua has another mediocre year. Then absolutely, I totally see what you're saying. But to do what the Packers did, take Love when you're trying to build a winner and your team's good around your quarterback, if Tua's the guy, you got to build around him. It's going to be counterproductive to do otherwise. Drafting a backup, though, grooming a backup, potentially to even become, a prototype starter with his size, someone to really, develop over time, that's smart. Use a 3rd-round pick, a 4th-round pick on that type of player, but not a valuable top 5 pick when you just took a guy in the top 5 less than 12 months prior. So personally, my guy, Tua, he's in the lab getting yoked. And he's been working with his guys, seeing it on social media, Jakeem Grant, improving his timing and his overall rhythm. And listen, a dialed-in Tua, a confident Tua, that's someone I think is worth building around. I think he's far closer on the scale to Watson and Mahomes than to Mitchell Trubisky, if we're going to use that draft as a reference point. With Will Fuller added to the mix, and football gods, hear my prayer, a healthy Devontae Parker, sky's the limit for this offense. I believe that. Someone who also thinks that the sky's the limit for the Dolphins and Tua specifically next year is a Dolphin legend. Yep, he's earned that status. Ryan Fitzpatrick himself recently appeared on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast and had this to say about his former mentee.
To it, but they want to know what you really think about Tua and his chances in Miami after you spend a year with him.
Well, I will say, Tua, it's amazing how much uh, criticism and different things have been thrown his way. And the guy was a rookie last year and came in and went 6-3 or whatever he did. The two things that really stick out to me about Tua is I think he has elite accuracy, and that's very important. And I think he's going to learn, from last year. He's going to learn through this offseason. He's got some continuity with George Godsey and Eric Studesville as coordinators now. Where to go with the ball, how to eliminate things pre-snap, to really be able to unleash that elite accuracy. And then he throws with anticipation, and that's something that's difficult that you don't see a lot with quarterbacks coming from college to the NFL. So I'm a huge Tua fan. My kids love Tua. Sometimes they play with him on Madden, sometimes they play with me. But I'm looking forward for big things for him. I think he's going to do great, and just in terms of being a leader on a team and a guy that people can follow, he has all those qualities. So I think we just need to have a little bit of patience. He was a rookie last year, and I think he's going to do great things.
Damn. Some fighting words, and definitely contrary to what guys like Colin Cowherd, Greg Bedard, let's say, and others have said about Tua and the Dolphins. A man who's been in the league and seen it done at the highest of high levels and the lowest of lows, that man sees greatness number one. That man, Ryan Fitzpatrick, believes in Tua Tagovailoa. I feel pretty comfortable personally. I don't know about you, but I feel pretty comfortable being on the side of things right now that have Ryan Fitzpatrick on them. I don't know about you, but guys like Cowherd and these other national media guys who don't actually watch the Dolphins as intimately as you do, as I do, as guys listening to a Dolphins podcast, as I've stated before, if you're listening to this show, you love the Dolphins. We love the Dolphins here. We're going out of our way to just enjoy, talking about our team. We know what's up. We're not completely blind. So when Colin Cowherd, whose job is, listen, it's a tough job, but he's got to cover 32 teams in the NFL, a bunch of teams in the NBA and MLB and NHL whenever that's relevant, rarely, and every other sport in college, any other headlines, social things. He can't actually know what's going on, all right? So he's just jumping on this bandwagon because he thinks it's a hot take. It's contrary to what people generally think and what society has told us Tua's going to be, and I think there's a reason society has told us that. But if he's right with this take, he gets to rub it in people's faces. He gets to say, listen, I told you. And yes, Tua had a rough start compared to, how dominant he was in college. But again, it's still just so early. I trust my eyes and my gut. And I saw plenty of good things from the young man, especially with that limited talent around him. With Will Fuller added to the mix, like we said, with some other talent that will be added. Kyle Pitts, we'll get into that during the draft. I'm excited to see what the future holds. All right, let's talk about some wide receiver depth here. The Dolphins re-signed gunner Mack Hollins, and this signing was not initially expected, to be honest. If you consider his skill set, he's big for sure. Listen, physically as an athlete, he's huge, and he's shown capable hands. He's made some plays. I don't know if you can think of any off the top of your head. He doesn't really have any issues with dropping the football or anything like that, but listen, he's not an Anquan Bolden with his hands either. He isn't the most electric guy athletically, and personality-wise, he really is. He's hilarious. But purely if we're talking on the field, running routes, he struggles to get open on a consistent basis on the outside. And if you just watch the Dolphins games, that was visible. There's a reason Tua held the ball for far too long when you got Mack Hollins out there running routes, especially against physical corners. He really did struggle against those physical corners who can get into him and pretty much stop him and stop any funny business or any route combinations he tries to do early on, in the route tree, because frankly, he's getting stopped at the line of scrimmage. He's just getting outbodied. He's getting someone in his chest, and he's not as savvy as you would hope or as experienced maybe to make those guys miss. Yes, he did contribute in Arizona with that touchdown grab. It was a great play, huge momentum swinger for Miami in that game. But that pass from Tua was so spot on. Anyone could have brought that in. And Hollins did make a heads up and overall great play against the Raiders, as we discussed. And if he does make that roster in 2021 in the fall, it's going to be as one of the last two receivers, frankly. His role, if he does make the team, will be as the gunner. Think Matthew Slater for the Patriots. Slater has been an integral piece of the New England dynasty, which is now over, and all he's done is make plays in the punt and kickoff game. Since he joined the Pats, the evil empire, back in 2008, yes, 13 years ago, he consistently elevates the special teams unit, and his worth is so great that they've kept a roster spot for him despite having younger and cheaper options cycling through year in and year out to compete with him in training camp. He's stuck around for those 13 seasons. He's been targeted. So he's a receiver, mind you, like Mack Hollins, 8 times in those 13 years in his career, targeted with 1 catch. It is for 46 yards. I don't know what the play is. That's crazy to me. Knowing our luck, it was probably against the Dolphins. I really should look that up. But that just tells you his role. 1 goddamn catch. The reason he gets to stay on the roster and won all those rings and is potentially, Patriots Hall of Fame guy, Patriots Ring of Honor guy, and collect millions of dollars along the way for a winning franchise, mind you. It's not like they're a scrub team making this dumb decision. They're winning, and they're keeping him. The simple truth of why is that Matthew Slater is damn good at what he does. And that, for me at least, is the vision for a guy like Mack Hollins. He can realistically be, like Slater, a Pro Bowler special teams ace. And that's not bad at all. But if we're asking him to contribute as a wide receiver, right? Like stand out there as the XYZ, whatever those terms are, and run those routes, no thank you. No thank you. Because similar to how we asked him to do that last year in many games, the Dolphins were pretty thin at the position, which is why they did. They suffered some setbacks in the form of those COVID opt-outs from, Allen Hurns and Albert Wilson, as well as injuries throughout the season to Devontae Parker, Preston Williams. But this is a good opportunity for Mack in terms of landing this deal. And look, he's still going to have to earn the spot if he makes the roster. If we know anything about Flores and this coaching staff, they're not going to let anyone just walk on. And that's why I'm not mad at the move. I don't think that's hindering them from a cap standpoint. Yeah, you would like to see them add more potentially higher ceiling players at wideout, but that's what the draft's for. And Mack Hollins offers so much more in the kicking game, like we've talked about. So having him in the room, his personality too, competing, making the guys around him put their best foot forward too, that's just a good culture move. So he's a culture guy. He's the type of guy you want teammates seem to rally around him. Bringing him back is not bad at all. And obviously if he can't make the team, it means you have better options. So that's not bad either. Hollins offers that culture fit and that potential special teams ace, at least thus far in his career. And listen, he was with the Eagles too when they won the Super Bowl. So he's seen what winning looks like. He's seen what it takes to win big.
Looking end zone. He's got a man in for the touchdown. What a drive by Tua and the Dolphins.
Hollins, known primarily as a speed guy when he was in college. He was a guy who could just fly down the field. He's one of the best gunners that they have. Look at this. He just high points this ball, gets it right up on his chest, gets 1 foot, 2nd foot close.
Thank you guys so much for listening to the PhinsPod. That's going to do it for us here today. I really hope you enjoyed this show. If you guys want more of the PhinsPod, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/PhinsPod. For literally $2 a month, you can listen to bonus episodes. And the site, patreon.com/PhinsPod, has some other goodies as well. So link is in the description, or head to that website, patreon.com/PhinsPod, to check it out and see what we have to offer in terms of bonus content. Thank you guys so much for the support. And please remember to like the video if you enjoyed the show and subscribe just so you never miss a chance to chat about your Miami Dolphins. And remember that the podcast is available on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts, and of course here on YouTube if you're watching here. Continue the conversation with us over on Twitter and Instagram at PhinsPod. We try to drop a lot of anytime news drops there. Be sure to check it out. That's usually where we're commenting on it before the episodes drop. And check out the site as well for news and content, PhinsPod.com. I hope you guys have an amazing day. And until next time, stay safe. Love y'all.